Hello, beautiful strangers, and welcome back to another episode of Myth. When last we left off, we made plans for a date with Yuri, and that's it. Nothing else important happened in any conceivable way. Nope, not at all. So, let's get back into it, shall we? It was 5 p.m. Shinjuku Station was filled with passerbys. Groups of young people seemed to be partially blocking the human flow hurriedly on its way home from work. Yuri was in the midst of all that, leaning against the guardrail. She just gazed at the station, not even paying any attention to the large screen TV or the various people there. It felt somehow lonely. Hey, want to walk around for a bit? Yuri stood up. So I began to walk around without any particular destination in mind. I crumbled the receipt in my pocket. Things have changed. If she didn't say that, we might have continued walking in silence the entire time. We'd almost forgotten about one another, and not in a bad sense either. Shinjuku just held our attention more than we did ourselves. 2002. This is my hometown. Feeling nostalgic? I have mixed feelings right now. Like, I do feel nostalgic, but things feel new to me as well. It's a really strange feeling. I see. I get it. What about you? It's just nostalgic for me. It reminds me of when I was a student, seeing the places that have closed or where new places are opening. I didn't think much about it that period of time. The way she said that made me realize just how much of a gap there was between us. You're 32 now, right? What are you bringing that up for all of a sudden? Sorry, it was just odd to me. We're the same age now, but we're really 14 years apart. Yeah. What did you do for a living? I was a lawyer. A lawyer? That sounds like it suits you. Really? Yeah. You never seemed serious, but you had a particular fortitude about you. I barely remember, though. Everyone laughed when I said I wanted to be a lawyer. They said it didn't suit me at all. That's because they were just looking at things at face value. A long period of silence passed. I could only imagine what she was thinking about. It was then that I decided to ask about the one thing that had been on my mind ever since we met again. Did you get married? Yuri quietly replied after another long period of silence. Yeah. I didn't know what to say. There were many things I wanted to ask, though. Who did you marry? Why did you come to Myth? Did you really make the right choice by abandoning your family? All of those words drifted through my mind like a feather, yet each and every one of them held a significant weight of their own. But they were things I felt I shouldn't ask about. I had no right to know. All I could say was, congratulations. That was all. Sign. Movement 5, Doubts, Highly Heights, room 102, living room, December 20th, 2016. Didn't catch the time there. Oops. PN 23781, or 232781. PN 237281, entering. How are you doing? Sorry for all this. It was just a temporary thing. I'm fine now. I was surprised. It's not like you to lose yourself like that. Forgive me. I won't inquire about it. I'll be a good superior and just report what happened. Oz is dead, so you're no longer on the case. Thanks for the work you put into it. How did he die? An overdose. It's undetermined whether it's suicide or murder yet. What kind of drug was it? PN 3287321. You should be more mindful of the fact that this is just idle chatter. You're telling me not to look into this anymore? Don't go looking for scraps. It's the police's job from here on out. We have no right to get in their way. For now. Excuse me. The black sun rose and fell with every step I took. The world was black. Every object in this reality, people, buildings, vegetations, all of it had become one. Hold on a sec. Sorry about that. I had to, my mic was covering the top corner of my screen and I needed to adjust it very slightly. I was the oddball. I knew that. Whenever I visited this world, I'd take my medication. That was how I managed to cling to the real world. I leaned against my car and opened a bottle of water with the last remnants of my power. The water spilled from my mouth, wetting my blouse. I didn't care. I wasn't in the right condition to worry about that kind of thing right now. I could feel someone else's gaze. It belonged to someone I knew as well. Rei-senpai didn't say anything, just watched as I desperately clung to the car. You look awful. The medicine began to take effect by the time he said that. I couldn't tell whether that was out of kindness or done as a means for him to harm me even more. Aren't you sick of watching me do this? Why would he want to watch my instability? For someone like him who's worked in the same office as me for all these years, this shouldn't exactly be a rare sight. Nah, I'm not. I can never figure it out. Why do you do this to yourself? That's just how I am. You're silly. Did you do that on purpose just so you could say that? No. Rei-senpai stopped himself from saying anything else. I came here to warn you to not chase after phantoms. Why? I can just tell. That's the only reason why you lose control of yourself like that. I regretted my previous actions. Why did I ever talk to this guy about Meito Tanabe? Knowing the truth about him is everything to me. I'd do anything to find that out. Is that for his sake? The look on his expressionless face changed slightly. It was one unique to men. One of disdain where jealousy and vanity mixed together. Yes, I played the fool. I could keep a certain distance between us by doing that. You probably think you're doing the right thing by putting your life on the line for someone else. That was the last sarcastic quip he made for the day. I didn't feel like getting in the car for a bit. My body felt more fatigued than usual. The sky took on its usual red color before long. Bling, bling. My pee-pee began to ring after the guitar solo playing on the radio ended. Hello? I turned off the radio and pressed the button on the phone. I immediately heard someone's rather languid voice. Yo. It was Edogawa. What is it? I guess I just wanted to hear your voice. Do I really need a reason to call? That was a very Edogawa-like line. Given his position, he obviously knew what my condition was like. That's a pretty crappy way of trying to pick me up. I don't like you trying to take advantages of my weaknesses either. Don't be a contrarian. I called because I was worried. Well, thanks for that. The light was red. I hit the brakes and then we stopped talking. More because the two of us didn't talk about things not related to work very much. It was honestly kind of shocking to hear that he decided to call me because he was so worried. So what do you think of Oz's death? I couldn't take it, though, and decided to chat about work. It's odd. The cause of death is known, but the source is unclear. It was an overdose, right? It's hard to imagine that Oz was in possession of narcotics while he was in prison. I feel the same way, which makes me think it was a murder. Anything that was given to him during a meeting might be suspicious. That seems logical. What kind of people met with Oz while he was in prison? Why do you want to know? Huh? Edogawa's response caught me completely off guard. I know it's your job to probe and be persistent, but let me hear it. Why do you care about Oz? Why? Because I was defending him until just yesterday. I'm curious about his death. And you shook off the prosecutor just to get into the scene of the crime, all for a simple client? Are you hiding something? I had never heard him speak to me like that before. Edogawa's tone was one of a police officer's. You're suspicious of me? How couldn't I be? I'm innocent. How can you say that? Should I tell him about Meito Tanabe? The black fluid connected to Oz's death, the clear foreboding of his memory loss. They both occurred before my high school boyfriend's disappearance, too. The cars behind me began to honk. The light had turned green. I pressed on the accelerator as I made up my mind, and then replied to Edogawa. Sorry, I can't answer. I see. Edogawa's tone was blunt. The one thing I can say is that you won't reach the truth behind Oz's case by being suspicious of me. This is just my advice to you as a friend. Silence filled the car. By the time I made it onto the highway, I realized that the call had disconnected. Myth, Day 6. Her actions. What is that? Morning. Riri-san suddenly began speaking to me as I sat on the couch. It's a paper that you use to write down what you want to do in the future. My parents still hadn't returned home. The note I left on the table hadn't moved an inch. So all you have to do is write down what kind of job you want and you'll get it? That's rather simple. It's not that easy. It's just what you want to do. There's obviously more to it. You might not necessarily even be capable of that type of job. It's just what the school uses to check to see if there's something you could maybe do. I don't get it. Is it just something you fill out to make sure you avoid pitfalls? Something like that. I understand. No one wants to fall into that sort of thing, you know? Riri-san snatched the questionnaire from me. So what do you want to do? What the hell is this? And that's the problem. What I wrote isn't something your average high school student should write. Yeah, were you sick or something? You could maybe say that I knew of my future or something. Either way, it's odd. Yeah. I didn't realize it until I let go of the questionnaire, but I caught a whiff of something tasty. Are you making breakfast? Riri-san placed the questionnaire down and headed to the kitchen. I don't like the food they make at those convenience stores or whatever. I decided to buy a cookbook and make something myself. There were 2 servings of potato salad and omelets on the tray, with some cherry tomatoes and red paprika on top. Lovely. Oh, you made some for me too. Thanks. It's the least I can do for letting me stay here, even if this place isn't real. I looked at the omelet. She wrote something on it with ketchup. It said, Je t'aime. What is this? It was in that comic or whatever. Said that writing things makes things sweet. Is that real though? What does this mean? It means that you love me. Riri-san headed back to the kitchen after we finished eating. I didn't want to follow her, but I didn't want to make her wash the dishes either. We ended up washing them together in silence. Riri-san, would you mind following me after we're done? Say that one more time and I'll beat that rotten courage out of you. I just meant, will you come with me to my parents' room? I continued, trying my best to avoid any additional misunderstandings. I was going to ask them when they came back, but it'd just be easier just to do it now that they've been gone for 2 days. All right, I'll join you. Here we are. So his parents sleep in different beds. Odd. I know people that have done that. It's just, every time I see or hear of it, it's still weird to me. Like, I've dated somebody in the past that was a bit of a snorer. Not horribly so, but they were, and I'm a very, very light sleeper, so they would occasionally wake me up. I mean, hell, if I sleep on my back, I snore, and I don't sleep on my back. But if I'm, in a chair or something and I nap, I will start snoring and it wakes me up. Like, just that slight sound wakes me up. I'm a very light sleeper. I mean, hell, my cat, like, walking around in my floor and meowing wakes me up. Typically wakes me up. So, yeah, I don't know, it's just, but I get it, sort of, but it's still just something weird to me. Maybe it's just because I'm a fairly, I guess, intimate person. I like being close to people. Like, that I'm close to, I like being near them, if that makes sense. Also, that looks like a hotel room, but whatever. Here we are. My parents' room was a combination of Western and Japanese styles. Plus, it was fairly large. It served as both an office of sorts and a place to sleep. Riri-san? Riri-san glared at me. She must have still suspected I was up to something. I shouldn't push it, though. I just pretended I didn't see her glaring at me as I continued. Let's look for the place they work at. With the drawers and the desks are, right? Yeah, there are 2. I'll search through this one. We began to look through the drawers. Luckily, they weren't locked. What's this? There were writing implements in the drawer along with thick documents that must have been hundreds of pages long. This is getting interesting. The drawer Riri-san looked through had the same thing. What was written on those documents was Tanabe Optics Research, Chief Koichi Tanabe. Could this just be a coincidence? My dad apparently did optics research. I read through the documents he had. The beginning was about lens developments and managerial stuff. The scope of those things grew in size as I turned each page, though. A number of difficult words are written in the documents, but I was only able to pick out one specific line. Complete human evanescence utilizing optical camouflage. This isn't the kind of thing some kid would understand, but how's it going, Shadowless? Like you would understand either. Would you from the fucking Edo era Japan? I can't even understand a tenth of this. What about you? Don't be absurd. Some of it could be related to myth. Optical camouflage. It's a way of removing someone's form from other people's visions. Yeah, I'm a fan of stealth camo too. Metal Gear Solid's a pretty cool series. It could also be related to the reason why I ended up disappearing, but is it something that's actually possible in reality? I don't know the details, but probably not. I've only heard of this kind of thing in games before. The answer is a lot more complex than that. With I believe the answer to that is kinda, sort of, but not really, but still kinda, sorta. More games. You really like things like that? No more than other people, I think. Now I can see why you wrote that stuff on the questionnaire. You should look at reality. Anyway, let's look around a bit more. We continued searching the drawers after that. There was nothing in particular of note, though. Just writing utensils, science magazine, and Yngwie CDs. Like Yngwie Malmsteen? Or just some other random Yngwie? Fuck it, I don't know. I think Yngwie Malmsteen was decently popular in Japan, but I don't know why. Fucking just random. I mean, probably the most famous classical metal guitarist and one of the best guitarists ever. I don't like him as much as a couple of other guitarists that I know of, but he's up there. At least technically. I heard a cell phone ring. I checked my pocket, but it wasn't my phone that was ringing. Look at this, Shadowless. I turned around. Aditi-san was holding a cell phone with the bear strap on it. Is that my parents? Everyone seems to want to make things simple in this world. She gazed at the cell phone as she said that. What's that mean? Nothing, really. Aditi-san then took the documents and headed for the door. Where are you going? I'm going to meet your parents. Their work address is written on these papers, so we can easily make it there if we ask around. Hold on a second. We can't do that yet. She sighed. There's nothing else we can do. We should meet up with Yuri and Kiki first, right? This isn't a problem for just you and me, after all. That's exactly why I want to go ahead and meet your parents. You're going to waste our chance. The cell phone is mine. I bought it yesterday with Kiki. It only made sense from the standpoint of logic and safety for all of us to act together. Aditi-san must have realized that as well, yet she was trying to go to my parents' job by herself. Her cell phone was blue. I didn't actually know of the existence of her phone, though, which indicated that our level of freedom and myth right now was quite high. Maybe she thought that by acting on her own like that, she'd be able to surprise the opposition. Release from an inevitable coincidence, a plan using this world's autonomy to our advantage. I don't think it's worth it. You acting on your own could potentially just be an inevitability. That's exactly right, but thinking like that means we can't act at all. Shadowless, think of our actions like a die. Before now, we've had to live following that die. Now, though, we can re-roll itself and act on our own. It means we're allowed to be active on the table, at least more than we have up until this point. Not rolling the die is equivalent to not putting up a fight during our limited time. Maybe it will lead to a positive outcome, but I still think that acting on your own is risky if something happened to you. If you think it's more dangerous in the situation we're in now, I'd like you to tell me. I'll contact you with this phone if something happens. I know how to use it. She left without waiting for me to reply. She's so stubborn. So she went out on her own? Yeah, I guess it's just her style. I met up with Yuri and Kiki after that. I didn't have time to be going to school. This was our first clue, after all. Actually, I think I'm going to end the episode here. I wasn't paying too much attention to the episode time. So, yeah. Next time, will we be meeting the consequences of, well, not our own actions technically, but, well, I guess we'll, fuck names. Riri be meeting the consequences of her own actions? Well, find out next time on Myth. And, well, I hope to see you all there.